Hey guys, welcome to CPL Fever. It's your host, Jack Murray and Andrew Murray here, and today we are joined by the fellows at Down the Pub podcast, Anthony Abbott, and regular contributors, Chris SEARL and Carlos Benitez. And the people who are normally asking the questions are now going to be answering the questions. How are you guys?
It feels weird to be on this side of it, Jack. I'm not too sure I'll be able to handle the pressure, so go easy on us, okay?
Thanks for the invite, Jack. Yeah, as Anthony says, today you're one of the questions, so it feels a little bit weird, answering everything, but you're a pro, man. Like, we follow you and you're good at what you do, so you're the boss today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, buddy. Probably more nervous for this than for any show that we do, to be honest with you. So excited to be on your end, bro.
It's our pleasure to have you guys on because you always interview other people, but I'm sure a lot of people want to know about your stories and your soccer stories. And so how did you fall in love with soccer, all of you? So I'm just going to go for Anthony first because he's like on my left, and then Carlos, and then Chris because, that's the order that they came in. But also it's just because on my left to my right.
I fell in love with football because most people, it's my dad. My dad was a huge football fan, and he got me into the game. He used to, every Sunday, he'd whether it was rain, sleet, snow, he'd come up and watch me play football, and his dedication to come and watch me was incredible and really inspiring. So that's how I started playing football when I was a kid, and it just grew from there. Like he was a big Tottenham fan, and he passed that awful baton onto me to keep going with it. So when I was growing up, like, football was available on free-to-air TV, so you didn't have to have satellite TV to watch it. So we'd every Sunday we'd have our dinner and sit down and watch a game on TV, and it was always really interesting to hear his insight into the games and stuff like that. And I just saw his passion for it, and it just rubs off. And ever since then, I've just it's a very frustrating game at times.
Yeah.
That's why I love it. It's like you never know what's going to happen. It's so unexpected what goes on, and it just keeps me interested. And I just love it so much.
Yeah, soccer is a great sport, and your dad sounds like a great soccer dad. And I actually saw you juggling toilet paper, and I was like, wow.
So I used to play football when I was a kid. Obviously I look like I don't play football anymore because I'm old and fat. But when I was younger, like I played at an okay level back in Ireland. Like we made it to the semi-finals of nationals and stuff like that. So we played at an okay-ish level, and I played football for my school and all that kind of stuff. So football was a big part of my life. Like I trained 3-4 times a week, and probably played 2 games a week, one for school, one for my team. So it just grows from that. And then, when you play the game, you kind of have a different sort of, I'm sure you see it yourself, you've a kind of slightly different insight into the game. Like obviously we don't play anywhere near the level that these guys are playing at, but everybody's got an opinion, and it has to come from somewhere, and it's usually from your own experiences.
So where did you play on the pitch?
So I started out as a midfielder, but then one of my managers kind of switched me back, and I was playing as a kind of a sweeper. He had this weird system. Yeah, it's
a sweeper in front of the center backs, or behind the center backs?
Sitting behind, because I was really
behind the center backs.
Yeah, I was really.
So you're playing that. What is that? That lock? The Italian.
Yeah, it's almost like a
Canetico.
Yeah, so
my Italian bad.
So I was always really good at reading the game. So I could see a play happening kind of before it did. So I was usually good at kind of coming in behind the defenders and just sweeping up any kind of balls that went over their heads or anything like that.
Okay, so you're behind the back line, but from the goalie.
Yeah, exactly. So now you think of like a defensive midfielder who sits in front of. I used to kind of sit in behind. It was kind of an older system, but it was just like obviously we didn't play offside that much because when you're sitting in behind, it's very difficult to kind of play that system sometimes. But as I said, I was really good at reading the game, so I was able to kind of come in behind and sweep up any kind of. There was a lot of running involved.
Yeah. No, our team played that last summer for a bit.
It's a really cool system. When you're that person, like there's a lot of pressure on you because obviously you're the last line of defense, and it's you kind of have to have your wits about you, make sure that you're kind of watching what's going on. And then after that, then I was kind of like, they changed system again because we moved up the divisions a little bit. I switched over to be a right back, and I was like pretty good at like crossing balls and stuff like that. So yeah, it was obviously then, you know, your dreams are over when you have to start going to work and all that kind of stuff, and you haven't been picked up by the big teams in England, right? So that's kind of where like that all died. But I just obviously, like, you know, I just kind of kept watching, and it's such an amazing game to watch. Like it's very hard for people from North America who aren't used to it to kind of they see it as kind of boring because there's like 0-0s and 1-0 and all that kind of stuff. But
I know a lot of people say like it's so boring. It's not dynamic enough because there's not enough scoring, and especially if they watch possession-based soccer. But I can't see why people think it's so boring because I just can't.
I think it probably comes from the fact of like obviously Canada is a huge like ice hockey country, and ice hockey is like 100 miles an hour, and basketball too is like it's usually kind of quite fast and there's a lot of scoring in it. But like football, like it's very strategic, and I think to me it reminds me like it'd be more like the NFL where like, you know, you kind of have little chess pieces almost.
Yeah.
So like some of the games, it's like it's chess game, but it's like it's so fast. And like I mean, I could sit and watch like a 0-0 game and like be enthralled more than a 7-0 victory, because a 7-0 there's no contest, right? Whereas when it's 0-0, you're kind of just on the edge of your seat, like saying which way this is going to go, right? So.
Yeah.
So any people from North America listening to this, give it a go.
Yeah, like
try.
Yeah, my grandpa. Yeah, my grandpa only likes to watch the finals of the World Cup.
That sounds like my grandfather.
We watch all of the group stages and stuff. But what about you, Carlos? What's your soccer story?
Well, I kind of like grew with it. I mean, like where I'm from, like it's kind of like Canada with hockey, same with football. There's a saying in South America that we say that like the Brits invented football, but we know how to feel it, you know. So
you're from Peru though, right?
Yeah.
Like
so
you're not from Brazil, you're not from Argentina, you're from Peru,
but
so.
I'm from Peru. But yeah, like Peru is like super. It's our major sport. Like it's a big fold. But yeah, like we only been into like 4 World Cups. Like the recent one after 36 we make it. But kind of like my background was like since I was born, like all my family were like big football fans. Like every Sunday, you know, when the family gatherings, like you see like all my aunts like cooking, like kind of like samurais going to a battle, you know, in the kitchen, and you see all my uncles and cousins, and we are all like watching, you know, the football games, and then like we start playing outside, and that's how I grew up. Like we used to go to the stadium every 2 Sundays per month. Like a religion, like going to mass was for us pretty much. That's kind of like started there, and it grew up with us. Like in school, like every break, just play football outside. Like I played the most amateur football ever. Like I played in the most critical conditions ever. Like I didn't went pro like Anthony, but we used to play it often, like in the rain, in the parking lot, in the garden. Like we broke like a lot of grandma's jars playing, you know, like doing shootouts. Like it was just it was always a soccer ball at home and outside. Like we play for even like, you know, the bottle caps of the beer. Like when we just, there's no, like we needed to find something to kick and just put 2 rocks and you play you make your own like soccer stadium there. So that's kind of like grew up like kind of like that amateurism in football. And from there, like it was just like going to the stadium, watching football every day. Like we have a lot of soccer newspapers back home that they sell them every day. Like, you know the Chronicle Herald. So we have a lot of soccer newspaper back home. So every day we used to just like buy them and just read them, collect stuff, watch it online, not online, but on TV, going to the stadium. And that's how I kind of like grow up. Like, I feel like football or soccer, it's the sport that unites more people. And you could be in the stadium and your team scores a goal and then you're hugging a stranger like beside you, you know. And that's pretty much how it is for me. And from there, like, it grew. I started like talking. I went to university, and I remember like I took marketing and advertising before I jumped into design and media. And the first 2 years were like generic courses, and I have to took journalism courses. And of course, like, all the subjects I tried to pick was like more everything related to soccer. And I did my first internship in a soccer newspaper. So I kind of like always try to combine the passion of that, like always incorporate something about it. So from there, that's how it grew pretty much. Like, I have it with me. So when I came to Canada, it was a real pain for me because everything was hockey. All the people that I knew was just like hockey, and like barely somebody that if he wasn't an immigrant or some related to an immigrant, they didn't know, like, no, it's all about hockey, as you were saying. Like, they found it boring. They say it's not boring, yes, because there's no score and they're running, but that's the beauty of it, you know. And from there, like, then I started like meeting people here, and there's a lot of soccer fans here. And now I feel like with the club, with the Wanderers, was the best thing ever, like having a professional league in Canada. And I was like, yes, like, finally I can go to the stadium back again. I miss it so much, and last year was a success. But that's kind of like my long story short, from the beginning to the end, like how I got involved in soccer. I can't tell you or describe how I started in soccer, because I feel like I grew with it. Like, it's always been surrounded by that culture. So it's kind of like a style of life, I guess. I mean, it's part of my daily basis. Like, there's no day that I'm not like reading or finding something about soccer. It's something that I grew with it, and we were raised with it. So I don't know how to answer that question. It's a really hard question, unless for me to answer that.
Carlos, tell Jack about your Panini sticker collections.
Oh yeah. Do you know the every World Cup? You know the Panini stickers?
A mascot?
No. Okay. Every World Cup.
Oh, we're gonna have to get Jack Panini stickers, fellas.
Yeah. It's it's an album with all the teams and the players. You know, like you buy the stickers and you collect them.
Okay.
And it's all over the world. It's a big fever every World Cup. So
it's the most fun ever. Like, so basically all the squads are inside the book, and then you buy the package, and you're hoping that you get everybody. So you get like a lot of doubles. So then you swap with other people.
And you swap with your friends and everything.
It's like trade.
That sounds weird, because I also like to trade Pokemon cards, but trading soccer cards is better.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
It is.
Same thing. Yep.
It's a lot of fun. Like, you know, I think it was like at the last World Cup. Like, I'm like 42, and I was still doing Panini stickers at the last World Cup. So
there's no age.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And as I said, like, I had like a stack like this of all my doubles, and a couple of us would sit in the pub and just like start swapping cards and stuff like that. So
having a beating, like swapping.
I'm sure you'll be able to do that a lot easier with the Wanderers now.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You just go to the stadium and say, "Hey, do you want this card or something?"
Yeah,
Especially if it's like a good card.
That's an idea that the CPL should be doing, and you're not wrong
stickers.
with that one. Like Panini stickers or even cards, some sort of training, because if they want to catch the younger generations like you, and they definitely gonna nail it with that idea. And I'm sure that old people, not old people, but mature people also will be buying those, not for their kids, for themselves. I can guarantee you that.
I'm sure you're right too.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to just say how you have a South American saying how like Britain created it, but you guys feel it.
Yeah.
I love that.
You're going to lose an awful lot of English listeners here, Jack. Be careful about what you're saying, buddy.
They don't take that too kindly. That's
They don't.
Well, well, Chris, what's your soccer story?
Mine's different from these guys, actually. I'm not coming up on the screen. Am I coming up on your guys' screen?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Something was going on with my settings there.
Yeah.
My story is different from these guys. I came from a sports background. My dad loved hockey, grew up watching Formula One, grew up watching football. But it wasn't until 96 when I was 7 years old when we moved to Shannon Park, where I was really first introduced to the game. That was the original home of the tournament called Soccer by the Sea. I don't know if you ever played in it, Jack. I know, like, when I was younger, when I was your age, that was the staple tournament for the East Coast of Canada. And sometimes you'd even get clubs from over in Europe, the Eastern United States. You'd get the 1 or 2 teams from the Caribbean every once in a while. It was the standard youth tournament, in one of the standard youth tournaments in Canada. So my first summer moving to Shannon Park, we just decided to go down and watch. And it was an instant love fest. I fell in love with the sport. I fell in love with the sound of the sport, the feeling of the sport. I know, like, you guys were talking about how a lot of Canadians found it boring. I learned how to play chess at a young age, and it reminded me of chess rather than checkers. Every sport just seemed kind of simple and direct, whereas soccer seemed like you had to think about what was happening next and then what was going to happen after that. And from there, it just kind of grew exponentially. 97, my neighbor, he was a British man. A French man, sorry, and he had a buddy who was a British man, and he was a big supporter of England. So I grew up an English national team supporter. So 98, the World Cup in 98, this was right after the 96 European Championships where England went on a run, and there was a lot of hype behind that team, and I kind of fell in love with this guy named David Beckham, so I became a Manchester United fan. And the summer was going good until he decided to lose his mind for a second and stepped on Diego Simeone and changed the course of English soccer forever. So that kind of flipped it on the script for me in terms of how much I was going to really get invested into this sport. I kind of felt the emotion of that game, honestly. And even though it sucked, I loved it. It was really strange. And growing up, my dad was a fan of Ferrari for Formula One. So I saw winners all the time. And he was a fan of the Dallas Cowboys. So they won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. So, like, I was used to seeing champions, but there was something about this England story. They won it once in 66, but like you guys have been saying, they invented the game. So I'm a Red Sox fan too, as you can see. So the underdog story really always resonated with me. With that said, I got lucky because I chose Manchester United. I grew up pretty much right in the heart of the glory years with Sir Alex Ferguson, and that really inspired me to play. Like I said, I was obsessed with Beckham, but there was a fella named Paul Scholes who I was absolutely positively obsessed with because he made everything look easy. And over the years, as soccer in Canada really started to grow, TSN used to get a lot of Champions League games, and you used to be able to watch, I think once a month, they'd have a Premier League game on as well. And it was usually a Manchester United game versus someone else. And that really, really grew my love for the game. So I started playing under 12, but I was 10. So I was an underager anyways. And I was punching way above my weight. So I was playing a couple of games in under 14 when I was 10 and 11. And then I played a couple of games under 16 when I was 12 and 13. And that's where my real love for the game kind of started to evolve. My head coach, the late Brian Gowan, he kind of believed in me when I really didn't believe in myself. I had a lot of injuries, as we've talked about. And I thought a game that seemed so simple was actually so tough. He showed me that it was fun, even with its difficulties. So he was my head coach for 3 years at under 16, where we went from being a team that could barely win a game to quarterfinals and provincials, which was a huge accomplishment for Eastern Passage. And that summer I had a decision to make if I was going to stay in the Passage or try to take a step up. And I decided to take a step up. So I played 2 years with Dartmouth United's Tier 1 under 18 team. We finished 5th and 7th, so we weren't very successful, but That's where I really got into understanding the game. My head coach was Sheldon Mousseau, and that's, like I said, that's where I really got into the game. So on theme, once we were old enough to go down the pub, we were able to watch a lot more games. And it just sort of became a routine in my weekly life. Once I was done playing, Wednesdays or Tuesdays were Champions League games, and then Saturday or Sundays were Premier League games. And it became more of a social thing rather than a physical thing. But I realized when I got back into it a couple of years ago that I missed playing so much. So that's my whole story. Like Carlos said, long story short, believe it or not. But I leave this with a little piece. Never stop playing, buddy. Never stop playing, because I think Anthony and Carlos, they can both agree with me. You stop playing and then you start playing again. You realize I should have never stopped. Never stop playing, man.
Yeah, Daddy actually was always a hockey fan, and he never played soccer ever, and I thought it was boring. And then I started to kick the ball, and then he kind of started to like it when he was kicking the ball with me, and now he's in the men's league trying to win more and more games.
And that's it. That's it. Like,
that's the beautiful game.
That's it. And now that I have my own son, he's 3 now, and he's kicking the ball and he's loving it. Like I find that little, I'm giving him a piece of me in a way. Like I loved the game so naturally, I just kind of went towards it. Like I wasn't really influenced by my parents in any way. Kind of like how Carlos, it was part of the culture, and with Anthony, he was really influenced by his father. For me, I found the game. So I want to show my son how beautiful this game is as young as I can, because I feel like we're at this generation now where this game is about to explode in this country, where it may not be bigger than hockey, but I feel like it can challenge hockey the same way basketball has.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I love to play with Henry, but sometimes he gets tired really quickly, and I say, come on, Henry, just 20 more minutes, and he says, Jack, I'm tired, let's just go upstairs and eat a popsicle. Henry, just 10 more minutes. And I usually have some trains, and then I play with Di, and I like to play like 3 hours in all with Di, but sometimes he gets tired, and Henry gets tired really quickly too. But
I gotta say, it's
people.
Yeah, it is tough not playing though. I mean, since COVID, like, cause I'm used to playing now. Like now I got back into it, like in the summer, and then in the winter you're playing like 7-a-side inside, and it's tough. It's been tough.
Yeah, I play like a little five-a-side thing on a Friday evening, and we play in the winter indoors, and it got cut short in it's like the end of February, and we usually play up until like April and early May. And it's Fridays just aren't the same. It kind of keeps me ticking over during the week to know that I can go out and kick the ball around the lads and all that kind of stuff. And that's
the beer on the parking lot too. I miss it.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's it's totally
addictive. It's addictive, right?
Yeah, and it's totally different
to play it.
It's totally different to watch it than to play it. Like when you're playing it, you get way more invested in it, because you actually get to see what actually happens in the game a lot more. And it's a lot of fun. I'd recommend it, and it's cheap to play too, right? So
and I don't know if you guys feel like it, but like as like I used to play also, like before all this COVID, like in Canada. Nova Scotia soccer, Canada soccer here in Clayton Park.
The BMI, it's great.
And it was like you could be stressed at work. You're very stressed, and what's going on in your weekly. Everybody has responsibilities, chores, work, school, everything. But once like you know that you're gonna play that day of the week, as long as you step on in the pitch, everything disappears. It's just kind of like your moment, like your me moment, like you're doing yourself, and no, doesn't matter if it's the end of the world outside, as long as like you're playing, like that's the beauty of football. It just like makes you forget about everything, and that's how I see it.
And I know. Oh yeah. And if the window's open in the house, I kind of and it's summer. I smell this summer, and summer and soccer is almost like the same thing for me. So it's almost when I smell that this summer, it's kind of almost, I kind of get this irresistible feeling like I just have to get out. I just have to get outside because it's so beautiful to get outside.
I know that smell you're talking about, buddy, because when I was just walking the other day, they're finally cutting the grass up by the basketball court by my building because people are allowed to work again. And that's that smell. Fresh cut grass, the wind blowing, it's nice and hot. Soccer.
Yeah.
It's sad because I know my parents live across the street from a soccer field, Eastern Passage Education Center. And it was sad going there last week and not seeing or hearing the sounds that you normally hear, because you could hear the whistles from the refs, the parents cheering, the arguments from the players. You could hear that in my living room once that school was built. So that even kind of, to go back really quick, fueled my love for the game. Not even just Shannon Park, but even when we moved to Eastern Passage, we had that patch right across the street, and it was a gift. And I miss seeing the kids out there.
That's a beautiful pitch, though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
Minus the mosquitoes, but it's a beautiful pitch.
Yeah, those, especially, oh man, like the day after
Those mosquitoes.
rainfall,
Yeah.
the day after a rainfall, you'd rather play in jeans.
Yeah.
Because mosquitoes aren't getting through jeans. You can't even play in track pants. Like, you have to play in jeans on that field because those mosquitoes are brutal, man. That's funny that you know where I'm talking, because not a lot of people know about EPEC, but yeah, it's one of the nicest patches in the city.
It's a beautiful pitch.
What's it called?
Eastern Passage Education Center. It goes by EPEC. It's on Samuel Daniel Drive in Eastern Passage. It's across the street from where my parents live. So if you're ever around and you're up for a kick, let me know. Across the street from Missy.
Okay.
And lunch or supper afterwards.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Straight up.
I know that if I saw that pitch, I just convinced them to go. Mommy and Daddy to go, even if we have to do something. I know I can convince them if like it's something that I really want. I know I can convince them for soccer. Like sometimes I can't convince them for something else, but every time for soccer, it always works. No matter what.
I say we organize a pickup game, fellas.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That can play too. That can play too.
That's what I'm saying. You guys have to be on different teams, though. We can't have chemistry together. We can't have chemistry together. You guys know each other? No.
But maybe we should be on the same team because we do a lot of 1v1s, and I know what works on him.
Touche.
I want to play in Jack's team because I saw his videos and he's
Me too.
real. So
sorry, Andrew, you're on the team when you're on. I must say one of the worst pitches that we used to play over at Micmac Mall. There's like a baseball diamond and there's like a football pitch beside it. I don't know how many times I nearly rolled my ankle on that one. It's probably the worst. So don't ever play on that pitch. It's awful.
That's a horse barn.
Yeah, it's.
I swear to God, Anthony, I took a penalty roadside on the lower field.
Yeah.
Goalie went one way, ball went the other one. Just beautiful pass penalty into the net. Like, you know what I mean? Just that sweet shot right to the corner. And it hits a rock.
Oh, no. Oh,
no. Jumps wide, doesn't even hit the post.
Oh, my God. That's horrible.
So I follow the ball and I go over and it's a rock the size of my fist.
They do not take care of that thing whatsoever. So I don't know.
The goalie didn't hurt himself.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. And like, it's funny like that. There's pitches like the one that you're talking about, Chris, and then there's pitches like that which are just like literally designed to break your ankles. So stay away from that one, Jack. It's not fun.
What's your favorite field to play on, Jack? And I guess yours too, Andrew. What's your guys' favorite fields to play on? Up there?
Well, since U6, I've always played. We don't play there much anymore, but at U6, when Daddy was coaching, because he coached me up to U10 or 11, 10 or 11. So even when I went into competitive, so he always coached me. But when I was like at U6 and stuff, we go to this field called Eldridge Field, and there's like two big fields beside it. I think it's like a group of 4 fields, and there's and you'd always go to playground after. So, and well, I just love that field because it seems like the field that I'm always most comfortable with. It's just so beautiful there. I love it. I haven't been there since quarantine, so I'm not so I can't remember and we don't. So I'm not sure how rocky it is, but I don't think it's rocky at all. I think it's pretty nice, right? They take care of it, right, Daddy?
Yeah, they take care of it. I'm gonna be a little bit of a heretic and say my favorite field is playing at the Kentville Dome.
Oh yeah.
Just because it's 7-a-side, you get more touches on the ball, and just like I'm just used to kind of going in there in the winter and like just that feeling of what it's like, and you know your passes are going to be smooth. Some of the fields up here, sometimes the grass is long, and it's kind of different every time. But there, it's a consistent experience. So if you make a bad pass, it's on you, right?
The one that I like is I don't know if you guys might disagree, but I feel pretty comfortable with is the one in Dartmouth, in close to CAA. It's in Burnside.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just like so plain. It's just
Have you been
like
to
a rock.
Have you been to Cole Harbor?
Yeah, Cole Harbor too.
Cole Harbor's grass is what Burnside's was when it was first built.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, I agree with you because there's something about Burnside. There's almost no wind. You think there'd be a ton of wind because it's open, but
it is. Yeah, there's no wind.
There's no wind, and the sun sets in a perfect way too. And it's almost the perfect, like for turf. If I'm picking turf, that is by far the best. Like even better than Bears Lake.
That's why like all the shots are in target. Then I'm a mess in the rest, but that's why. That pitch it's my lucky charm.
It's the feel in the boots. It's the feel in the boots.
What's that academy that used to be over there that closed down?
Geez.
Their indoor pitch was incredible, and they've just cut it up, which is such a shame. It was it was only there for 2 years, but I played on it a bunch of times, and it was probably the best indoor pitch in the city, to be honest. And they ran out of money or something, and that they closed the academy down, and it was such a shame to see that they cut it up and stuff like that. So
what was it called?
It's some academy. I can't remember. It's over in Dartmouth somewhere. I think it was close to Burnside, Chris.
It was in Burnside. Yeah, it was pretty much across the street.
It was like a private school, and then they ran
that with a tiger.
Yeah, and then they ran out of money, and then they had to close it down and stuff.
Oh,
that one is pretty good too.
Yeah.
It's gone now though, Carlos.
It's gone.
Last year, I think was it.
Such a waste. Was it Newbridge? Was that the name?
Newbridge. Yeah. I played pickups games there. It was pretty good. Like how it bounced. It was a rock. It was.
Such a shame to see that. I feel like the city could have perhaps tried to buy it or something and just keep it going, because it was an amazing indoor pitch. I'd say it's probably better than some of the pitches at the BMO Centre, to be honest.
And speaking of pitches, Jack, what's your take on the Wonders Ground pitch? A lot of players love to play here. Besides the atmosphere, just the state. What's your take? What do you think about the
I think it's really nice because I have been on the pitch, and since I'm a ball boy, I am on the pitch, and it's really nice. The grass is really beautiful, and it looks and when we see the Wanderers play, it looks pretty good too. And I would have also played there in the 4v4 Rover tournament, but my Valley United team was called up to the next level, so I couldn't do it. Because it was Hurricane Dorian, and then it moved, and then the tournament moved onto the day that my team was supposed to play on the a tournament in the higher level in the next.
That would have been awesome to play on. It's just that the city do. We were surprised to know that they learned that the city looks after it. It's not the actual Wanderers themselves, because the city owns the pitch. They do an incredible job of looking after it.
I would love to play full field on that.
Awesome.
I even love to play half field, because I don't know. That full field, I would be running.
I would love that full field because there'd be so much running.
Yeah. We could just break in sometime, and hopefully nobody will notice. So
I think they
put on mustaches.
I think not on the season. when it's in the off season, they take like all of the stands out of it. I think it's like a free, like it's just a public field.
I don't think so anymore. I think now because of the construction that's going on next door, I think they started the parquet, didn't they, this week?
Oh, they did they?
I think. I could be wrong. Don't
Wow.
quote me on that. But I think that for the next year or two, it's actually going to be closed to public except for match games, which is why they just got the grass fixed up, I think. And I think the guys are going to be able to start practicing on it either next week or the week after.
Nice.
Nice.
It's still up in the air though. Pitch quality assurance or something like that. I don't know if that's like the proper term. I could be wrong, but they still have to run a couple more little tests with it. But
one of my new favorite accounts on Twitter, I don't know if I've already seen this, it's called Can PL Simpsons. And it's basically just like tumbleweeds from The Simpsons waiting for people to tell us what's happening with the CPL this year.
Well, yeah, but I mean, look at what the MLS did. I mean, you know, they're like this big tournament, and you can tell, like, you know, they've already like kind of invested heavily in this is the answer, and then you're seeing like players that are kind of upset with the situation, both with like with the food, with the whole situation, with the transparency. And, you know, it looks like they're still trying to just put blinders on and just force the thing through. And I don't think it's going to go on.
If you get a chance, go on YouTube after and check when Inter Miami FC arrived to the locations, and when the players were just like stepping down the plane, you could tell in the expressions of the players that they were so uncomfortable, so scared that they were getting something. It's just like, oh my God. And that was only one team. I don't even imagine the rest of them.
And they're from Florida, so
yeah. They were they're from Florida, you know, and they were like,
it's a team from Florida.
They're not scared to be in that part of Florida. They want to be in the other part of Florida.
Yeah.
But when you were talking about the food there, like I saw some of the pictures of the menus and the way that they were described and what the players actually got. It's like $65 for like this amazingly elaborate sandwich and vegetables and selections of fruits, and then it was like a ham and cheese sandwich and a banana. I was just like, wow, Jesus, you've gone all that way just for like a ham and cheese sandwich and a banana. So,
but you know, I mean, they're making those deals behind the scenes, and you know, like, I mean, they're like whatever company gets the contract for that, they're making a spread. You know what I mean? It's.
Yeah. I think just looking at like I saw that like TFC kind of held back and going because one of their players was showing some symptoms or something like that. I think the conspiracy theorist to me is almost like they're kind of probably waiting, hedging their bets to see what's actually going to happen, because it's
what some of the UFC fighters are doing.
It's like, I mean, like the fact that they're having like 11,000 cases a day down in Florida, to be having two huge tournaments like that just makes zero sense to me, to be perfectly honest. It just doesn't make. It would make more sense to have it in Canada, where we kind of have stuff under control a little bit better.
And I think,
but I don't think that like the government would allow it to be in Canada because of all of like just the regulations. And to be honest, I wouldn't. I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't like it to be in Canada. I think the government would get a lot of like angry people who didn't like soccer. In that, like I think a lot of people would be angry with the government, but it would be safer here. But
I think that's why
you could argue that would be a huge mistake for Canada, because a huge majority of the teams are coming from the US into Canada, and they don't have it under control.
Exactly. And
they should just do what the UFC did and just buy an island.
Or a country.
Yeah, just have it out in the middle of the Atlantic somewhere.
But I think that's why the NHL came to Canada to finish their season. I think it's Edmonton and somewhere else, because they've got 7 franchises in Canada. To Jack's point, you know, the MLS has 3 in Canada, but you're still talking about 22, 23 American teams. 21. I don't even know how many MLS teams there are anymore.
They're close to 30 now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're close to 30.
Yeah, I think that was the max that they wanted. Like the expansion vision way back in like '96 was a 30-team 2-division league, and they're going to get one of the two. I don't think they're going to get the 2 division thing anytime soon. But to Jack's point, the NHL is like 70-75% Canadians. You can screen a lot of the American guys and the European guys very easily because it's a much smaller number. Anthony was just saying, you've got MLS going down to Florida. I think the women are playing down there too, the NWSL. I could be wrong, but they're playing in a hot spot too.
Yeah,
and
the
the
NBA
NBA is going down there. So like, it logically, before the second wave started, it made sense, especially in the NBA's case where they booked Disney, where these guys could go there with their families. Disney has everything you can imagine within this like 10-kilometer radius. They'd have the National Guard pretty much protecting the facility. Like, it was a great plan. It seemed like the MLS kind of panicked because they've got expansion fees, right? They've got 2 expansion fees that are just sitting on the table right now that need to be paid out. And they've just got brand new TV deals and advertising deals. And they don't want to spoil the financial. So I think that this tournament leading into a full season is a win-win, because like you were saying, Andrew, if the tournament fails, they still have a tentative schedule for the rest of the season where they could possibly redo it again down the road. But I think it could lose if it fails both ways, where the MLS has come so far. Them failing, that setback could set them back 10, 15 years, and you'll start to see clubs fold again, whereas clubs used to just depend on other clubs to survive.
Like looking at the, sorry, Jack, I'm looking at the like baseball. They've kind of given players the option to opt out. Yeah. I think that's probably the way to go with it. That way, like, you know, it's I think it's a very fair way. That, I mean, if you've got family stuff at home, or you're just afraid, like David Price has come out and said he's not going to play this year. So,
if Mike Trout doesn't play, like, because they were just talking about that before I was on with you guys, they were talking about if Mike Trout doesn't play, that's like if Ronaldo or Messi decided they didn't want to play right now. That, for anybody who doesn't know who Mike Trout is, he's arguably one of the 10 most talented baseball players of all time. Not one of the greatest or the best, but in terms of his skill set, he's probably one of the 10 best ever. And he's already said he's strongly considering not playing. If he says he's not playing, it's going to make a lot of guys that are maybe on the fence or uncomfortable making that decision say, well, screw it, I'm not going to play either. And it could create an interesting wave of young talent coming in. I don't think there's any way the baseball season doesn't happen.
But how many?
Sorry, go ahead.
How many players are in a baseball roster?
Well, it's 25 on a regular day, but I think the original plan for the next 2 years is that every team is going to have 40, which is typically the roster after September 1st. There's a lot of minor league teams right now that basically don't exist. There's no minor league baseball season this year. So there's a lot of teams in like A and AA and even lower than that.
I thought we're 30.
What's that?
I thought they were 30 for roster.
25.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they carry 5 on the road with them, but like an extra catcher or pitcher or something like that. But I know we're supposed to be talking soccer. Here we are talking baseball.
Well, I was just going to say that that guy says no, it could start a domino reaction, like you were saying, Chris. And I think that it's kind of like the Arjen Robben situation, because if Arjen Robben comes back, a lot of players might come back too. It's like a domino reaction, because the level, because more people are probably going to opt out than players like Arjen Robben and stuff like that coming back.
And I mean, there's a few guys that have opted out in the NBA too. And it's not even just the coronavirus in that sense. There's also a lot of social issues going on in the United States, and guys are taking the time to either play to make a statement or not play to make a statement. You know, you were just saying, Andrew, you don't think the MLS is going to finish. If I'm looking at the list of all the leagues right now and breaking it down, the only league I think that is realistically going to finish is Major League Baseball. I think the NHL still might have a struggle. But I think if the Canadian government does get involved in protecting those guys, because the rumor is both hub cities are going to be in Canada, they can figure it out. But I mean, I don't think the NFL is going to start. I don't know if the NBA is going to finish. I think it'll start. And with Major League Baseball, they need to come up with a plan, because like Jack just said, if the dominoes start to fall, these teams are going to have to start to call up the minor leaguers. And you're talking about a chain reaction next year. If you're signing these guys to contracts this year, what's their involvement next year? What about these guys that are sitting out this year making 20 million coming back next year? Salary caps. It's Jack said it perfect. It's a domino effect. And like Anthony was just saying too there a couple of seconds ago, it is all really truly connected to soccer, because soccer, the world of soccer, most of the leagues have done a really good job of setting an example for the North American leagues on how they can do this. I've been saying this to everybody that hasn't been paying attention or watches soccer. The Bundesliga in Germany, and actually, honestly, all three divisions, top divisions in Germany right now, have done an incredible job of developing bubbles, incorporating families and friends into these things, getting the testing involved, making sure that the refs are comfortable, making sure that all the staff are comfortable. And it's gotten to a point that if they had an extra month of the season, they might even be able to have small groups of fans in the stadiums again, because they've done so well to make this work. So hopefully the leagues I just said weren't going to finish or even start have been watching what they've been doing over there and maybe have some tricks up their sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
So just with baseball, sorry, before we get back to football, are they gonna do this
over the show? We've taken
I know. but are they going to do like hub cities, or are they going to do where like you're actually traveling around?
As of right now, it's going to be traveling around, but with baseball, you play sets. So, I mean, you watch baseball. I'm talking to you like you don't know baseball. Yeah, like you play a team 3 times. So like they'll do extended sets. If you play it 6 times, you'll play them 6 times. I don't know how it works. I think it's 40 games in your division and then 20 games interleague in your locale division. So to your point, it's kind of like area hubbed. So like your NL East, AL East are playing together, your Centrals are playing together, your Wests are playing together. So travel's just going north. Yeah, travel's mostly just going north-south rather than changing time zones, and keeps the airport numbers, I'd say, lower too. If you know, in the case of the NL East, except for Atlanta, actually, no, that's a bad example. Forget that. But, you know, some of these teams might be able to just take buses too, or drive their own cars to certain games, like the NL East and the AL East, the Yankees and the Mets. They're right next door. Baltimore's next door to those guys too. So, so to answer your question, sort of, Anthony, they've done a good way to make it that you still have a slight home field advantage where a team has to travel to you, but that's the gamble I think that they're taking big time.
Yeah, it's like it's keeping fans at home, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in America, like it seems that like some people aren't taking this. They feel it's a hoax. So Jack, I had a quick question for you. So how do you see the CPL restart? How do you see it starting back up?
I think that it will most likely start in PI, and I think because the CPL should have started a long time ago. I think we'll maybe have to cut our season, unfortunately. So that means less games to watch, unfortunately. But I think it will be played in empty stands near the beginning of the season. But like you guys said, the Bundesliga could eventually have a couple of fans in there, and I think that we'll have like a half season of what we had before, and I think it'll be played in PI. And hopefully, if they let some fans in, hopefully a lot of Wanderers fans will be there. I think we could take over the stadium a couple times.
I mean, Canada should be okay because it's a smaller country. You know, we kind of locked down the borders. I think they're probably looking at the MLS and maybe even delaying their announcement just because that looks like a big, huge cluster, you know, cluster thing. And but also, I mean, they don't have the money to fail. You know, they've already got money from the government. You know, they can't take the big risk of having a fiasco like, you know, what's going on with the MLS if that does, you know, crash and burn and like that would be disastrous for the league. Like the whole thing is like, this is in the second year of the league, they have to face this,
And
ridiculous,
but
existential threat, and it's just
also
But
remember that it's a league with 8 teams. It's not that MLS, so that's also like in our favor too. So something to consider. Yeah.
I just think
the
that
problem with Canada also is that in like places like Bundesliga, you can take buses, but in Canada, because it's so big, you'd have to take planes, and I don't think that planes would like be great. But also the CPL doesn't really have the money to not do it either. So it's kind of like you have to take the shot, but you have to take the shot, because they, like I said, they can't, if they can't afford to have it like go down in flames, but they also can't afford to not do it.
I think
That's
that
a priority for every sports league in the world now that this has happened. Is
What
to
you
come up
guys
with a backup plan. Like
backup
your
plan would be good.
your schedule makers at the start of a season, they have to now make a COVID plan. They have to make they just have to make multiple plans. And I know that they do that in the past, but they've never ever had to do anything like this drastic, especially in the case of the NHL and the NBA, where their season was almost over.
What you guys think if the CPL bring back in a different way the spring and fall championship and play the spring like the way that they wanted to in PEI, and the fall with fans, given like a month gap? I know it's going to extend a little bit, like for fans. I don't mind bundle up and going to see the to see the Wanderers in the Wanderers ground cold in November or like late October, but it could work.
Me and
and I don't mind.
Alex, sorry, you go ahead, Jack.
I was just gonna say, and I don't mind getting dressed up to be a ball boy in the cold either.
True.
I was actually talking about that off air with Alex DeCarolis, Carlos, when I was just interviewing him there a couple weeks ago, and he said the same thing. If the plan right now on the surface could be play each team once and then top 4 go to a semifinal and that's it, you could do that twice and have a substantial amount of games, and then have your 2 champions of each season play each other in the final.
To get the North Star Shield.
Exactly. So like you were just saying, Carlos, the I guess the structure that they accidentally had last year that they didn't really want to do but felt it was the best way to start the season off,
it helps them this year.
Accidentally helps this year and potentially next year as well, because fingers crossed this is over come next spring, but maybe it's not. And this is what I was saying. Hopefully every sports league in the world has a backup plan. And to your point too, Carlos, you could play the split season, even though it's not easy to play outdoors in Canada, although I know Jack would like to hop in the snowsuit and be on the sideline.
Russia does it.
Exactly. But we've got some beautiful indoor facilities in this country where you could have hub cities. So you could play PEI next month, let's say, give the boys another month off where they go home, train, tactically get ready. And then let's just say they go out to BC, maybe they kill off 7 games out there, come back to where they're at for a month, relax, do whatever they need to do. At that point, then you're in the fall, winter, and you're looking at inclement weather. You could finish a full season almost by December, picking places like BC that have BC Place, or Toronto has the Rogers Centre, Montreal has the Olympic, there's a way they could even have a full season just stretched out a lot further. So I'm repeating myself now. Hopefully, if this ever happens again, leagues have a plan. Because
I just find that, like, as a fan of the league and all that kind of stuff, is like they've been so poor with the communication. It's like I'm getting, like, we're now in July. This has been going on for however long, and we still haven't been told. Like, there's all these, everything's a rumor. Like, it's all like people like Dwayne Rollins and all that kind of stuff are the guys on Twitter who are kind of like leaking bits and pieces and letting us know what's going on. That's not the way the league should work. It should be like coming from the top. And like, I know the commissioner was on the One Soccer a couple of weeks ago and had a few ideas floating about. Like, we shouldn't be at the idea stage. We should be at the, like, this is what's happening.
Execution stage.
Yeah, because the players the players are going training every day, and like they're working very hard and all that kind of stuff. But they need, like, whenever you're doing stuff like that, you need to have an end goal.
Yeah.
And if we're still
Also,
And
to add to
Carlos
that,
said it's only an 8-team league. Too,
Yeah.
like Carlos said. So like I'm not trying to criticize the league on your guys' show, but if I have any criticism of the Canadian Premier League in the last year and a half, that would be one, communicate with us at least what the ideas are, because we know you at least have plans on the table. Let
Also-
us as fans kind of be able to prepare ourselves. Are we going to be in a World Cup style tournament? Are you going
Also,
to try to spread the season out over multiple months? Like, what's your guys' idea? And I think it would be better if they just at least had us at the bargaining table without any input, because I think that communication is something that was lacking that last year, that I had really good faith that they were going to improve on this year, but haven't had the opportunity to from a day-to-day standpoint.
to add to what you said, also remember that not all the teams are complete in roster. Like, I know we're missing 2 guys. Like, every team needs 2 to 3 guys. That's fine. They can survive with it. It's tactically, that's up to the manager, the coach, and stuff. But for example, Atletico was not in a full roster now.
No,
Valor hasn't completed his roster. Like, they're like only 10, 12 players. So I feel like perhaps the CPL wants to start already, but they're waiting for the clubs to complete the rosters.
tell us that then.
Yeah, but they haven't. But there's been no, like, even I haven't heard anything about like Atletico Ottawa or Valor trying to recruit a player, and that just could be because everybody's being so like cautious. But still, if the rest of the league is waiting on 2 teams and the other 6 teams are ready, well, I'm not trying to criticize the other teams by any means, but that's kind of unfair to all of the teams and even that
was my
club's
point.
fans,
It
because
can't be that.
the fans want to see them being played, but the fans want to see them being played. I think Atletico Ottawa has had it's enough trouble, so just sign a few players, maybe talk to the league, and who knows, maybe the format will be put in place.
It can't be the teams, because the teams can't dictate when the league is going to start. It's got to be those teams are being cautious financially, and they would, if they had to sign someone, they'd already kind of know, but they're kind of not signing them because if something goes up, maybe they don't even sign them, and then if the league gets deferred, then they save money.
And if any of the teams in the league have to be financially cautious too, it's those 2. Like Winnipeg openly showed their losses from last year, and I mean the whole Blue Bombers network lost a lot of money last year, and Ottawa's brand new. So if any teams have to be cautious financially, it's those 2. So that is a good point, Andrew. Another point I was reading on Reddit completely on that topic was that maybe the league do know who they're going to sign, but because they don't know when it's going to start, they haven't actually made the announcements yet. I'm not trying to like throw rumors out there, but there's been some guys that used to be Wanderers over the last couple of years who might be playing for Ottawa next year, who have been working out privately. So I think that a lot of, and it is frustrating if that is why the league is being held up, if it's a team-based thing. But like Andrew said, I don't think it's a team-based thing, because I think if anything, the league has given them a deadline to give them a short list of players. And then they have a date once they know when the league is going to start. Okay, now you have to pick from this short list of players. I don't think it's kind of an open season where they have extra time to build their roster. I think if anything, the teams that rosters are full might have a bit of an advantage right now, because there's a couple of guys that are supposed to be on Ottawa that still aren't in the country, that they have faith will be in the country by the time the season starts. So they're not even getting any technical work in with their teammates right now. So
it's crazy, and like that's the thing. Like, I mean, like you're talking about, like obviously like Alex Marshall and Santos coming in for us. Like, they're gonna have to quarantine for 14 days. Then by the time they get up to speed with training, like we're talking about another month. And like Canadian weather is what's gonna dictate all this. We're now in July. Like, add another month onto that. Like, we're talking like August. Like, it's just getting narrower and narrower and narrower. When they need to kind of come up with an idea, it just says, okay, we're gonna say it's a 20-man squad. And do whatever they need to do, because I know that Valor have players in the pipeline, because Rob Gale himself said so on a One Soccer chat and stuff like that. So like that they have it in progress. I think, as you said there, it's probably just a financial thing that they're like, if the season is going to happen, we don't want to have to sign somebody who we then have to give pay money to when we're not actually going to be playing. So it's kind of it's so up in the air. But what we're
take them to Dominican like they did last year. Remember?
Yeah.
They all started and they were having tournaments there.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not bring One Soccer there? Everybody goes to Dominican. They have their training facilities.
Yeah.
They have they're staying there. They're gonna be in the resort, like taken care of and everything, and have a tournament there, and then come back here and wait and if we want to have a full season or not. But at least you have something going on, you know.
So our next episode of Down the Pub podcast is going to be about how much we love the CPL. So your show will be full of us saying how horrible the CPL is, and their show is going to be, we love it so much. These people are amazing.
And you know what? Then I'm going to get my editor to mix it together.
This is all getting cut out.
Let's just leave it alone.
We'll have you say one thing, Anthony, and then we'll have you contradicting yourself.
It's just me saying like the Wanderers are terrible. The Wanderers are terrible.
And then I'm gonna hire a bunch of Twitter bots and just retweet it.
Oh my god, it's amazing! It's amazing.
Okay, let's just leave this all behind. Let's leave that all behind and ask how did the Down the Pub podcast become the Down the Pub podcast?